In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and endless skies lived Ayaan, a young man who carried dreams too heavy for his small world to understand. On the surface, he appeared ordinary, an average student, a simple worker, just another face in the crowd. But inside, a storm brewed. He often sat alone on his rooftop, eyes fixed on the stars, whispering questions no one around him dared to ask. Why am I here? What if I was meant for more? The world around him had little patience for dreamers. People measured success in stable jobs, daily wages, and predictable routines. Dreams, they believed, were luxuries for the wealthy, not for someone like Ayaan. Whenever he hinted at his ambitions, the response was swift and cutting. Stop daydreaming, they said. Be realistic. Every word was like a stone thrown at the fragile glass of his hope. Yet late at night, when the world finally slept, Ayaan's spirit awakened. He would sit at a small wooden desk, scribbling notes into a battered notebook. His handwriting was messy, his ideas unfinished, but his heart beat faster with each page. He wasn't sure how or when, but deep inside, he believed his voice would one day echo beyond the boundaries of his little town. Still, doubt followed him like a shadow. Sometimes he stared at his reflection in the mirror, silently asking, "What if they're right? What if I'm not enough?" These thoughts haunted him, but they also revealed a truth he couldn't ignore. Doubt only appears when something worth fighting for exists. If fear was chasing him this hard, perhaps it meant his dream carried real weight. Ayaan didn't know it yet, but the journey of greatness always begins in silence. Every echo of potential starts as a whisper in the soul of someone willing to listen. And though the world dismissed him, Ayaan's silence was not weakness. It was preparation. Because sometimes, the loudest stories are born from the quietest dreamers. Dreams are fragile things. The moment you expose them to the world, they are tested, sometimes by encouragement but more often by doubt. Ayaan discovered this truth the hard way. One afternoon. Sitting with a group of his friends, he finally gathered the courage to share a piece of his vision. He spoke about building something meaningful, something that could change lives, something far beyond the simple cycle of working, eating, and sleeping that everyone around him accepted. He expected curiosity, maybe even support, but instead, laughter filled the air. Change lives? You? One friend scoffed. You're not special. Just focus on your job, another said. The words pierced deeper than knives. That night, as he walked home under the dim streetlights, their voices echoed in his mind. He began questioning himself. What if they're right? What if I'm chasing illusions? What if my dream really is impossible? Doubt seeped into his heart like cold rain, drenching the small flame of hope he carried. But something curious happened in that darkness. Amid the noise of rejection and fear, Ayaan noticed a strange pattern. Doubt only seemed to appear when he thought of doing something extraordinary. Nobody doubted him when he followed the crowd. Nobody mocked him when he lived small. Doubt arose only when he dared to reach higher. And in that realization, a new truth took root. Doubt is not a sign of weakness. It is a signal that you are on the edge of growth. It visits only those who carry a dream worth fearing. The world wasn't really laughing at him. It was protecting its own comfort. His dream made others uncomfortable because it reminded them of the ones they had buried. That night, Ayaan closed his notebook and whispered to himself, "They may doubt me. I may even doubt myself. But my dream deserves a chance." For the first time, he understood doubt was not his enemy. Doubt was proof that his dream mattered. Courage doesn't arrive with fireworks. It begins quietly, in the heart of someone who decides they've had enough of waiting. For Ayaan, that moment came on an ordinary morning that he woke before sunrise, looked at his reflection, and saw a tired young man who had been postponing his own destiny. His dreams sat waiting in his notebook, but they would remain lifeless until he dared to act. He whispered to himself, "One step, just one." That day, instead of rushing to work with the crowd, Ayaan carved out 1 hour for himself. He picked a small project connected to his dream. It wasn't impressive to anyone else. It didn't bring money, fame, or applause. But to him, it was everything. It was a declaration to himself and the universe. I am starting. At first, the step felt shaky. Doubt returned, whispering, "This won't matter. You're wasting your time." But the moment he completed that first task, a strange energy filled him. His chest felt lighter, his mind clearer. He realized progress wasn't about giant leaps. It was about steady footsteps. The days that followed weren't perfect. Some mornings he stumbled. Some evenings he failed. But each day he returned to that small promise. One step forward. He began to see his dream not as a mountain to climb in one leap, but as a journey of countless steps. And slowly, he discovered something profound. Momentum is more powerful than motivation. Once he was in motion, even the hardest days could not stop him completely. For the first time, Ayaan wasn't just a dreamer. He was a doer. And that made all the difference. The world sleeps, but the dreamer stays awake. For Ayaan, the night became his ally. By day, he carried out his responsibilities, working, helping his family, fulfilling duties. But when the town grew quiet and darkness wrapped the streets, he came alive. At his small desk, with nothing but a notebook and a dim lamp, Ayaan poured himself into his dream. The nights weren't easy. His eyes burned with exhaustion. His body begged for rest. Friends teased him for wasting his nights. Some nights, frustration hit so hard that tears fell onto the pages of his notebook. But still, he pressed on. Why? Because he understood something many never learn. What you do in silence will one day speak louder than any applause. These late hours, invisible to the world, were not sacrifices. They were investments. Each night was a seed planted in the soil of his future. He wasn't building for recognition. He was building for transformation. And though progress was slow, though results seemed invisible, deep down he knew something was shifting. His discipline was sharpening. His knowledge was growing. His heart was toughening. Some nights, when fatigue whispered, "Quit," Ayaan would look out at the starry sky and remind himself, "If I stop now, I stop forever." That thought kept him going. Little did he know, those nights of fire were forging the strength he would one day need. For greatness isn't born in comfort. It is born in struggle, in persistence, in the unseen hours when no one is watching. Ayaan's nights were lonely, but they were alive with purpose. And that purpose would one day set the world on fire. No dream grows without failure. Ayaan learned this truth sooner than he expected. After months of working late into the night, he finally launched his first attempt at bringing his vision to life. His heart was full of hope, his hands trembling with excitement. But within weeks, everything collapsed. His project didn't attract the attention he imagined. Instead of praise, he received criticism. Instead of support, he met silence. The weight of failure crushed him. For days, he avoided people, afraid of their laughter. He couldn't bear the thought of hearing, "We told you so." His notebook, once his closest companion, lay untouched on his desk. Some nights he sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he had been foolish all along. Failure feels heavy because it carries not just loss, but shame. But one morning, as he walked past a construction site, something struck him. He noticed how the workers laid bricks, one by one, and how often a wall collapsed before it finally stood tall. Yet no one stopped building. They simply started again, stronger than before. That moment reshaped his thinking. Failure wasn't the opposite of success. It was the foundation of it. Every setback was a teacher, stripping away weakness, sharpening his vision, and testing his resilience. With renewed courage, Ayaan picked up his notebook once more. He began writing, not about dreams this time, but about lessons. What went wrong? What could improve? Each failure was now a stepping stone, not a dead end. And though the pain of falling was real, so too was the strength it gave him. For the first time, he understood. Success doesn't belong to the one who never fails. It belongs to the one who refuses to stay down. Life has a way of sending guides when we are ready to listen. Ayaan's came in the form of an old teacher, someone who had once seen potential in him long before he saw it in himself. One evening, after another exhausting day, Ayaan crossed paths with her. She noticed the fatigue in his eyes, the weight on his shoulders. With gentle curiosity, she asked, "Tell me, Ayaan, are you still chasing that dream of yours?" Embarrassed, he hesitated. "I tried," he admitted softly, "but I failed." She smiled, not with pity but with wisdom. "Good," she said. "That means you've begun. Do you know what shapes destiny, Ayaan? Not talent, not luck. It is consistency." Her words struck him deeply. She explained how talent opens the door, but consistency keeps it open. How dreams aren't built in one great act, but in countless small actions repeated with discipline. "The world doesn't belong to the fastest," she reminded him. "It belongs to the most consistent." That night, Ayaan carried her words home like a flame in the dark. He realized he had been chasing quick victories, craving instant recognition. But real change is slow. True growth is patient. From then on, he shifted his mindset. Instead of asking, "How fast can I succeed?" he asked, "How long can I persist?" With consistency as his new compass, Ayaan no longer feared failure. He began again, brick by brick, building his dream with patience. His mentor's voice echoed in his mind, steadying him each time doubt returned, and slowly, his vision grew, not because of one big leap, but because of small, faithful steps taken every day. The greatest war Ayaan ever fought was not against the world. It was against himself. Every morning, he woke with two voices in his mind. One whispered, "Stay comfortable. You've already tried enough. Rest a little more." The other urged, "Get up. Move forward. Your dream needs you." These battles played out daily, and more often than not, the comfortable voice seemed stronger. Fear, procrastination, and self-doubt became his invisible enemies. He realized that external challenges were easier to face. Mockery, rejection, even failure. But the war inside, the endless pull between giving up and pressing on, was far harder. One day, frustrated with himself, Ayaan sat in silence and reflected. He asked, "Why do I keep losing to my weaker self?" And then it struck him. He had been relying only on motivation, waiting for bursts of energy or inspiration to carry him forward. But motivation fades. It is like a spark, bright but fleeting. What he needed was something stronger, something unshakable, and that was discipline. From then on, Ayaan stopped asking himself whether he felt like working. Feelings no longer made the decisions, commitment did. He created routines, small systems to keep him moving forward even when his emotions begged him to quit. Discipline became his shield. With it, he could silence the doubts and resist the comfort of excuses. He began to see that success was not about winning a single great war, but about winning small battles every day. And as the days passed, those victories added up. Ayaan was no longer controlled by moods or fears. He was guided by vision. Confidence is not given. It is earned one step at a time. As Ayaan's discipline grew, so did his results. At first, they were small, completing tasks, finishing projects, gaining new skills. But slowly, those small wins began to stack up. Each success, no matter how tiny, was like a brick, and together they built a foundation of belief. The boy who once whispered his dreams in fear now began to speak them with clarity. His voice, once shaky, grew steadier. His ideas, once dismissed, began to carry weight. Confidence didn't come from applause. It came from evidence, the undeniable truth that he was capable because he had proven it to himself. The same people who had laughed at him before began to notice the change. Some still doubted, but others grew quiet, and a few even started asking him for advice. Yet Ayaan knew better than to let pride take root. He reminded himself that confidence was not arrogance. It was simply trust in his ability, built through persistence. Each day he felt stronger. Not invincible, not perfect, but unshakably committed. And with each step forward, his inner voice grew louder than the voices of doubt around him. Now, when he looked in the mirror, he no longer saw weakness. He saw progress. He saw someone becoming who he was always meant to be. And deep within, Ayaan realized, confidence isn't a gift the world gives you. It is the reward you earn when you refuse to quit. Dreams are expensive not in money, but in sacrifice. Ayaan soon discovered this truth as his journey deepened. He realized he could not carry everything with him. His dream demanded space, and to make room, he had to let go of certain comforts. Late-night conversations with friends turned into long hours of work. Weekends of leisure became weekends of study and practice. Sleep often surrendered to burning midnight lamps. At first, people around him didn't understand. "You're wasting your youth," some said. "Why work so hard when there's no guarantee of success?" Others mocked him, calling him obsessed. Their words stung, but Ayaan held firm. He understood something they didn't. Obsession with purpose isn't madness, it's clarity. Sacrifice wasn't easy. There were nights when loneliness crept in, when he missed out on gatherings and celebrations, when his body ached from exhaustion. He often wondered if the price was too high. But then he reminded himself, every great achievement is born from the things we choose to give up. What you sacrifice today becomes the strength of tomorrow. Every hour of sleep lost, every comfort abandoned, every distraction rejected. Each was a seed planted in the soil of his destiny. In the storm of sacrifice, Ayaan discovered discipline sharper than steel and resilience stronger than doubt. Sacrifice wasn't just shaping his path, it was shaping him. And though his journey was lonely at times, he realized something powerful. It is better to walk alone on the road of purpose than to walk with many on the road to nowhere. Then, one day, the moment arrived. After years of silent effort, unseen nights, and countless sacrifices, Ayaan's work finally reached beyond the borders of his small town. What began as scribbles in a notebook now carried his voice across cities, communities, and even strangers' hearts. The same people who once laughed at him now spoke his name with respect. Some even apologized for doubting him. But Ayaan didn't carry bitterness. He understood now, people don't laugh at your dream because it's impossible. They laugh because it reminds them of their own abandoned dreams. As opportunities opened before him, Ayaan felt no need to boast. Instead, he stood quietly, almost in disbelief. The boy who once whispered his dream in silence was now being heard. His echo, born in the hidden corners of night, had finally reached the world. But instead of celebrating like it was the end, Ayaan whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning." For he knew that true success isn't about one achievement. It's about using that success to create even greater impact. The echo of his potential had been heard, but its song was far from finished. Ayaan's story is not just his own. It is a mirror, reflecting the journey of anyone who has ever carried a dream in their heart but felt the weight of doubt pressing against it. Think about it. You too have felt that quiet whisper inside, haven't you? That voice that says you're meant for more, that you can rise higher, that you don't have to settle for the ordinary. Yet, like Ayaan, maybe you've faced laughter, rejection, or even your own fear. Maybe you've told yourself, not now, maybe someday. But here is the truth. There is no someday. There is only now. Dreams do not wait for perfect timing. They wait for brave hearts willing to step forward, even when the path is unclear. 2025 is not just another year on the calendar. It is your year. The year to stop waiting, stop doubting, and stop burying your potential beneath excuses. The world doesn't need another person blending into the background. The world needs your unique fire, your vision, your courage. Yes, the road will be difficult. Yes, you will fail. Yes, you will be tested. But remember, Ayaan, failure did not destroy him, it built him. Sacrifice did not break him, it strengthened him. Discipline did not chain him, it freed him. His echo was not born in comfort, but in persistence. And so, the question now is not whether your dream is possible. The real question is, will you answer its call? When you wake tomorrow, look in the mirror and see not just who you are, but who you can become. Start small. Take one step, and then another. Let momentum carry you, let discipline guide you, and let your dream remind you that you were never meant for mediocrity. Because your potential is not silent. It is waiting. Your dream is not gone. It is alive, and the world is waiting to hear your echo sparkle. So rise. Step forward. Your dream awaits.